Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Amy Harrill podcast. I have the amazing Amy with me today. How is it going?
It's going good, and I have the amazing Sherman.
Oh, that's too kind. I know in episode 1, we took flight with the Wright brothers and spoke about their obsession with the wingspan, not so much the engine like other folks were. In the last episode, we spoke about serving the needs of the customer. Let me circle back to this wingspan that you spoke about. Can you unpack that a bit more and help our viewers understand what is super important, what's critical?
Yeah. One thing that I learned from the Wright brothers is that making sure that this idea can take flight and is viable was very important before they put anything on it to make it actually go farther and faster, which is the opposite of what we often do in business. We say, okay, we're just going to stick an engine, an advertising model, or we're going to go after the most people first. And then we're just going to see what they like. And then hopefully, hope and pray they like our idea and they like our product. Whereas what I have found works the best is to eliminate all the things we think about what they're going to want and go straight to them and ask them, which is what we talked about last week. And that then gives us this wingspan of, okay, where are they putting the most value in marketing? And where are they putting the most value in our actual delivery? So if we have a service business, where are they putting the most value on the service? Do more of that. Or if we have a product, where are they buying the most? Where are they putting the most value? Do more of that first. Instead of putting an engine on everything, having a bunch of offers or big flashy marketing strategies and marketing teams before we ever really know where they put the value. And Sherman, really, I'm just going to boil this down. If you think about the wingspan, there's only two things that matter in business. Take all the stuff away, take all the video and the audio and the popularity and the books and the podcasts and the YouTube channels and the live videos. Take all of that away because there's only two things that matter in business. It is always and consistently acquiring the most idyllic client and then attending to what they want first over and over, the throughput process of the business. So the only two things that matter is, are we getting the same person from the same things that they're putting value on? And are we giving them what they want first in our delivery model?
Okay, so the ideal client, what they value most. Are we talking as simple as asking our
Yeah,
existing
it
customer?
starts there. Yeah, it
Okay.
starts with asking existing customers, right? The research phase never ends. So, in the work that I do in my own business and what I've duplicated and given to my clients is that we have to always be attending. So, every part of the process with them, from the time they click on something until we actually talk to them face to face, is all question based conversations. So we are staying in the process with them by asking questions. And then once we acquire them as a client, we are attending to where they are spending the most time. So if I have a service based model, which is what I do and you do, I pay attention to what is the reoccurring questions they're asking. And I'm paying attention to that and documenting it and paying attention to, am I answering that question? Am I giving them what they're asking for first? So is my throughput process, which is the process they go through with me as a client, getting them what they want most first? So for my clients, it's, I've been told I need a niche or a niche, but I don't know. There's all these
I've
beautiful
never heard a
ways to say
niche.
this word. I don't know all the beautiful ways people say it, but I just dumb it down, the niche of it all. And I say, okay, do you really? Let's go find out. So the very first thing they get out of my work is, okay, I know who this ideal client is behaviorally, demographically, and I know where they spend the most time online. So I'm going to go there first.
Mm,
I'm going to go meet them where they are. And I had to learn that the hard way, though, right? Because I thought that
mm,
people wanted digital templates and wanted to be six-figure businesses first, and they didn't. That is not where they were putting the most value.
mm.
So the indirect result of attending to what they wanted first was that they made a lot more money in a shorter period of time and they enjoyed what they were doing.
Mhm.
Instead of trying to push what I thought they needed up front, I attended to what they wanted first.
Okay. And so if I can park here for a moment,
Yeah.
this flies in the face of so many courses and programs and workshops where they speak to focus on a niche,
Yeah.
only serve this niche,
Yeah.
build this agency serving this niche, and then potentially you can flip it down the road. Or the fact that you already serve this niche so well, the needs of that niche.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is it's beyond a niche. It's beyond that. It's the
Yep.
ideal demographic, psychographic of an ideal client that spans across multiple niches, is what
Correct.
you're saying. I'm hearing.
That's right. That's exactly what I'm saying.
This flies in the face of all that stuff. And is it because of your own personal experience and history with this that you've pivoted to this new framework?
Yeah, it is. The 6 phases I do with my clients now, I've done since my very first business, which I was the CEO of a national nonprofit. It was a dumb idea on both parts. I was very young. I did not know what I was doing, but it was the first year of MySpace and I still had AOL. So I was like, "Okay,"
Wow.
right? I know,
Okay.
I'm very old. I know it's hard
Good
to
fun.
tell. I'm just kidding. But it was a pivotal tipping point for me. I was 23 and I said, "This is it. We are gonna figure out how to save jobs and to get these people that are in need what they need through these platforms. Because what we're doing right now, we're not making enough money, and people are about to be laid off, and agencies are not gonna be allocated to. So what are we gonna do?" So I just quickly started just throwing stuff up against the wall and slowly started to build out what I know now. But the biggest lesson came to me was when I left corporate America thinking I was something awesome. And I could
Mm,
just, if I could make all this money for these people and do all of this impact, I can go do this for myself. Sherman, that was a big fat lie because
mm,
I jumped with a big ego and I ended up losing that business. So what I learned there is I learned that because what I did is exactly what I tell people not to do now is I immediately started to outsource all the stuff I didn't want to do. And
mm,
a lot of that was on this marketing side, the website, the social media. Facebook was starting to take traction at that point. Email marketing had already made a big splash. We were already seeing great results from that. So I was like, someone else can do that. But I hadn't taken the
mm,
time to measure so that I could then inspect what I expected from people. So I
mm.
needed to learn the measurements and then I needed to duplicate the success. So I had to learn from the backside of all of this, how does an algorithm actually work? If I'm going to use algorithmic based platforms, how does it actually work? So that's where I
Mm.
attended, put all my focus was I'm going to learn this. I'm going to learn how it works and then I'm going to test it and then I'm going to duplicate it. And that is how I came to where I am today because an algorithm does not group people by subject or even by demographic.
Mm.
It starts there, but how it gets better and better results is it learns more about the behaviors and puts people into groups by behavior. So if we will do
Mm.
that from the get-go, we actually don't need a niche by subject unless we choose to, unless we're just passionate about it.
So if we come out from the niche mindset towards the behavior mindset,
Mhm.
what is one of many factors, questions we need to be asking to
Mhm.
get us closer to this ideal client we want to serve?
Yeah. In last week's episode, I gave you a question on the front side. Think about that question for the top of the funnel. And that question is just simply to go to your most idyllic clients now and say, if you had to describe what I did for you to someone that doesn't know me, how would you describe it? Okay.
Mhm.
Now let's attend to, so that was one wingspan of marketing. That will get us some really good data for the front of the funnel, the top of the funnel. But once we acquire them as a client, something to really pay attention to, just do this one thing. Listen to the question that is being asked over and over by people that either walk through your door or by
Mhm.
people that you're talking to on the phone. So, how do you get there? First, you just have to start paying attention to listening. You've got to start honing the skill of listening. So, one thing that I recommend, I just did this with a very large client. All of their top leaders, we gave them a composition notebook and a pen. Wow. I know
Mm.
this is so fancy. And
Super high tech.
yeah,
Mhm.
do you see all my composition notebooks back there? You guys, I love composition notebooks. And we gave them these two tools, composition notebook and a
Mhm.
pen. And for 4 weeks, we said, all we want you to do is listen to what the client is asking you. Write down all the questions. You don't have to organize it,
Okay.
you don't have to answer it, and you don't have to have an answer for it. It's okay for you to say, I'll find out and get back to you. So, over those four
Mhm.
weeks, lots of things happened, you guys. Cultural change, pivoted. It was a complete 180. The electricity came on just by them attending
Listening.
to listening. That's it. We didn't do anything
Mhm.
else. We didn't have new meetings or implement new tech. We gave them a composition notebook and a pen and empowered them to listen. And the culture
Mhm.
radically shifted. But what we found, there were these patterns that emerged from the questions that told us exactly what the client needed that we weren't giving them. And we
Mhm.
immediately jumped in to start giving it to them. So now the trust factor between the brand and the participant, the client, has so
Mhm.
radically skyrocketed that we've had to actually hire and revamp the staffing process because they're now telling their friends, man, like I'm getting everything I want from this brand. You should come over here. And it has just
Mm.
radically shifted the staff's energy. They're much more collaborative. They are much
Mm.
more energetic about coming to work. And then the client is now telling their friends. So business has shot open literally in
Mhm.
4 weeks, 4 weeks' time, just
Wow.
from the one tool of a
One
composition
practice.
notebook
Mhm.
and listening. That's it. That would be
Amazing.
a big piece of advice I would give people, to just start with one thing you're going to listen for and listen for any questions that come in about a certain product. So, can I give you one more
Mhm.
example of
Yes,
how I
please.
did this in my
Yes.
product space? So, I'm a service provider now as a consultant, which is very different than a coach, which we're going to have a conversation about that. But I started this process in my first, it was actually my second business, that was a maternity clothing boutique. Okay.
Ooh.
So, what was interesting was that we had jeans, maternity jeans, back towards the back of the store. But we
Mhm.
started to attend to the skill of listening. And I said, I want to hear what they're asking for when they come in the door. So we set a time
Mhm.
frame. That's what a key performance indicator is. It has a time frame. So we set a time frame of 30 days, gave all the
Okay.
staff a composition notebook and a pen, and said, okay, just listen for what is the product they're asking for when they first come through the door. So
Mhm.
the staff would approach the new mother to be coming in the door and say, oh my gosh, hello, how are you? What brings you in today? Very simple question. Maternity jeans. Really,
Mm.
over and over again. And it was an expensive item. Maternity jeans are not cheap, good ones.
That's
So
right.
once we moved them to the front of the store, our sales skyrocketed, just
Mm.
completely took off. And the staff was excited because I enrolled them in the process of change. I didn't just tell them what to do.
That's right.
So they felt like they had a part in it. And then the consumer also got what they wanted. So my internal client was impacted. That's my staff member. And my external
Mhm.
client was impacted and they got what they wanted. First and foremost, it was at the front of the store and we always had plenty of it because they always bought
Mhm.
more than one.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's interesting. There are companies that would, let's say in retail, put what is desirable further back
Mhm.
so that customers have to walk down the aisle to look at other
That's right.
items. What you're saying is give them what they're looking for right away, up front.
Yep.
Solve that need right away.
Yeah,
you know?
because what will happen is that they will trust you as you recommend more things. So we saw our average dollar sale go from $500 to $1,500 because we could just keep adding on because we had what they wanted in stock, the jean.
That's right.
Now we
That's
had
right.
their trust. My clients today, oh, Amy has a research process that gets me the information I want the most. How do I reach the people I want to work with first? Okay. So once you have that information, now you trust me for the next steps of what you need. Because Sherman, here's the facts, man. People don't buy what they need. They buy what they want. And if you, with all integrity, can give them what they want really well first, they will trust you for the steps that they need later.
Okay, so question. As you were mentioning this, I imagine a company listening, writing in a composition books questions of what customers are looking for.
Yeah.
What the customer wants is what you do not want to serve, even though it's under your umbrella of service or product line.
Yep.
Do you reinforce support for that kind of stuff? Do you offer it? Do you offer saying, here, I'm going to recommend this provider, or do you actually provide it?
That's a great question, because these are the conversations that tip a company forward or force them to close their doors. Honest to goodness. It is so pivotal. That question is so pivotal. I have had to sit with Fortune 500 companies and startups, and we've all gotten to that point. And I say, okay, so what is the decision? What do you want to do?
It's a crossroads. It's a crossroads decision. Yeah.
And they have to make the decision. Am I going to stay with this ideal client group? Because if so, this is what they say they want from us first. And we really don't want to do that. Okay, so then what else could we do? This is where collaboration, this is why agile leadership matters, because it's in these conversations. And honestly, it's in the conversations that are the most dissenting and are oftentimes the ones people run from that the most creative solutions come from. This is how Apple went from almost losing everything to bringing Steve Jobs back and making the most important decisions of their lifetime. Their marketing strategy, everything changed at that moment. And these are the conversations that matter, and it's a powerful conversation.
Yeah. I'm glad that we touched on a very important question.
Yeah, I am too. I am too. We will unpack that another day. I know we will.
That is wonderful. As we wrap up today's episode, Amy, what is one thing you'd like our viewers to take away and chew on and marinate until the next episode?
Yeah, I'm going to say this probably every episode, that in business, the only two objectives that matter is always acquiring your ideal client and helping that client get what they want first. And systems can help you do that really well, but systems only run the business. They have to be run by a human, and that's you. So you have to always be attending to the client first, not to your own desires in the business, but to the client first. And if the client's desire does not match your metric of satisfaction, which is a metric we also need to talk about, then you've got to be willing to make the decisions. What are you going to do? And so the one thing I would leave for you is that there is always a pivot. It's okay to pivot. It's actually better that you pivot and you wrestle than you bow out, because it's not what you want in the way you want it, when you want it, how you want it. The more agile you can be in your approach, the better outcomes you will get and the more satisfaction you'll have.
That's wonderful. I would love to unpack this metric of satisfaction next episode or in future episodes.
Yes.
And I'm glad that we gave a nod to Ross from Friends in pivoting.
Which we'll also talk about that in another episode.
It's been a power-packed episode, Amy. Thank you so much for your wisdom, insights, and time. And for folks joining us, thank you so much. Stay tuned for next week's episode as we bring you more from Amy Harrill.
Oh, thanks, guys. Bye, Sherman.